yeah.
For so long, Disney has produced a lot of great films that people grew up with, which now they passed on to their younger siblings, to some, even their children. Disney's Renaissance era of films has been considered one of the most highly watched and loved by many, and today a lot of these are being adapted into live-action films. Sadly, a lot of these received a lot of mixed reactions from audiences, which is pretty understandable. These are the cases wherein the films should remain animated and nothing more. Today, we'll be listing some of Disney's works that we think will make poor live adaptation films. What's up, guys? How's the weather where you're at? Welcome back to our channel. Today we'll be looking at Disney movies that would make the worst live action remakes. If you're curious to know which movies made it on today's list, watch until the end to know more. Before we proceed with today's video, kindly do us a favor and click that like button and subscribe to our channel with a notification bell on so you won't miss any of our new releases. And so without further ado, here is a list of Disney movies that would make the worst live action remakes in no particular order. The Rescuers. Starting today's list, we have the 1977 animated film The Rescuers. We've seen Disney make musicals, live adaptations with talking animals, as well as human stories, but if there's something they tend to steer clear from as much as possible is anthropomorphic films where characters are animals, but they walk on two legs, wear clothes, and talk like people. So far, the only successful portrayal of anthropomorphic adaptation we've seen is from Alvin and the Chipmunks, in the sense that it's a bit acceptable. If Disney pushed for this type of animation, they'd be making live-action films that make use of CGI throughout the whole film, and we know how difficult it is to animate such. At best, it would be cringeworthy, and the expressions may not be as accurate as how they were in the original animated movie. Robin Hood. Continuing with the list, we have one of the oldies but goodies of Disney animated films, which is none other than the musical comedy Robin Hood. A lot of us grew up singing along with Robin Hood, Little John, as well as the gang at Nottingham as they fight off Prince John's excessive taxation at Sherwood Forest. The violence from this movie is downplayed so children could enjoy this fully. We included this in today's list since the anthropomorphic nature of the film immediately gives negative marks as a candidate for live action treatment, much like how it is with The Rescuers. Not only that, there are already a lot of Robin Hood movies, so making another movie based on the animated film is redundant to say the least. We're sure Disney could allocate their budget for films in the future rather than a remake, in all honesty. Lilo and Stitch. Next, we have two of the best-loved characters in all of Disney to grace our screens, which is none other than the lovable but chaotic duo from Lilo and Stitch. In 2018, The Hollywood Reporter published an article that this family-centered movie is under the works as a live-action remake wherein the studio has hired up-and-comer Mike Van Wees to pen the script to be produced by Dan Lin and Jonathan Eyrick of Rideback. We've all come to love the movie as it is, so what was the reason for the remake? Although shortly after the announcement, radio silence followed suit regarding the release date, so there's a chance this project may have been shelved. CGI aside, much of the movie takes place in Hawaii in different backdrops, so adapting that while catering to Stitch's quirky actions and mannerisms would be difficult to say the least. The backdrop is also what made this movie soft and is integral to the storyline. In summary, adopting this movie to a live-action remake would require a lot of changes, many of which were integral to what made the original movie so weirdly charming in the first place. The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Do we even need to say more about this film? If there's one legendary thing about Disney, it's known for having bright and fun themes, and if there's a slight tone of negativity or somberness, they know how to sugarcoat it. But how could they sugarcoat The Hunchback of Notre Dame if it ever hit the big screen as a live-action remake? A whole lot, since the movie tackles an array of heavy and sensitive topics such as infanticide, genocide, lust, and the phobic treatment of the disabled. We're not shooting down the chances of this being a good movie, but the production and crew need to think long and hard should they wish to proceed with this. Like Lilo and Stitch, The Hollywood Reporter also published back in 2019 that Disney is developing this movie along with Josh Gad in the lead and David Henry Wang as the scriptwriter. Alan Menken and Stephen Schwartz, who earned an Oscar nomination for their work in the 1996 feature, will return to handle the music, but so far no news of the production's progress has been made. So this one may just be another Disney project that got archived in the Disney vaults. The Emperor's New Groove. Looking past the funny side of Kuzco and Patch's story, The Emperor's New Groove makes it to today's list as a non-ideal candidate for a live-action remake, which bears similar reasons to The Hunchback of Notre Dame. In a nutshell, The Emperor's New Groove tells the story of a conceited ruler named Kuzco who got turned into a llama instead of being assassinated. Not only that, he went through a lot of adventures to learn the value of his people while not taking his power for granted. We gotta say though, John Goodman would nail portraying Patch in the film, although it might have been better if he was younger, but not for Kuzco. hero who gets turned into a talking llama. That's a lot of work, not to mention Cuzco's slapstick comedy is something they need to live up to, so we're not looking forward to this one being animated. Pocahontas. If there ever came a point that Disney is purely seeking publicity and it doesn't matter it's good or bad, then they only need to push for a live-action remake of Pocahontas. Sure, we see Pocahontas as the heroine, but can Disney omit the poor treatment of Indigenous Americans in the film? Take note, for the majority of the film, Pocahontas and her people are deemed savages. The real story behind Pocahontas is known by many, and for the sake of Disney being Disney, they altered it to suit the audiences, but the real problem doesn't even lie in the accuracy of how they will portray Pocahontas' story. Putting aside how it will be handled, the film will no doubt receive a lot of backlash and criticism overall, much more than praises, if there will be any. Take for example what happened in one of Disney's latest adaptations, Mulan. Upon its announcement, it already received a lot of backlash from different sectors, from boycotts to issues with a release in China of all places. The movie had trouble right out of the gate. As if to prove a point, Mulan didn't do well in China once all was said and done either. Now that we're getting ahead of ourselves, but remaking Pocahontas will seriously bring a lot of headaches for Disney as a whole. The Fox and the Hound. Last but not least, we have the 1981 animated drama The Fox and the Hound. Compared to all films listed, the movie has a slow pace overall and dwells more on drama. If Disney opts to adapt this, they're going to need a different storyline since the action portion of the movie happens in the last few minutes of the film. Not to mention, in the original film, we mostly see the everyday life of Todd as he makes friends with Cooper that spirals down into them being enemies. To put it bluntly, this would make a really boring remake if they stick to the story, so Disney needs to bump up the action if they want their audiences to be invested until the end. That's not all. Disney needs to deal with the scary nature of the movie's primary villain, which is an enormous and ferocious black bear. At the climax, we see Todd fight his way to try and save Cooper from the beast, horrifying for a child to watch. Much like many other films on this list, the old-school storytelling nature of The Fox and the Hound is simply too unbalanced as it shifts between dry, dragging segments and short bursts of over-the-top intensity. And with that, we're concluding today's episode about Disney movies that would make the worst live-action remakes. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. Do check out our channel if you like this video, and since we've got more content to cater to your needs, from tutorials to celebrity news to curious trivia. Thanks for watching today's video, and before you go, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our channel with a notification bell on so you won't miss any of our newest uploads. We'll see you again in the next episode.